I remember my parents were with me, and the nurse said, well, which one of you is here for the appointment, looking at my mom and my dad, and they point like, it's her. And she looked and she said, oh, we don't, how old are you? We don't usually get this young. I am a heart and stroke survivor, and I was 39 when I had my heart surgery. I remember coming back from winter break. I'm a college professor, and I have a big hill up to my office. And I remember it was January, it was very cold. And I remember walking up the hill feeling a tightness in my chest. I remember thinking like, it's anxiety, it's cold. But by the time I got to my office, I couldn't breathe. And I thought, something's not good. I made an appointment to see my primary doctor. He listened to my heart, and he was a serious guy, but he got even more serious. And he said, what are you doing this afternoon? I said, well, I'm running errands, I'm doing this, my dad and I are gonna do it. And he said, yeah, I want you to head over to Mercy Hospital. I'm gonna call ahead. I want you to have the following tests done.
I was sitting in the car outside of his office, and she came out and she had this terrible look on her face. Very upset, told me what he had said.
By 7 o'clock that night, the doctor from Mercy was calling, and you know when you get questions like, are you sitting down? Are you alone? Where are you? And it's 7 p.m. and the cardiologist is calling, something's wrong. And so she told me that I would have to have heart surgery to survive, because I had a bad mitral valve that was pretty serious stuff. And I said, what do you mean I have to have heart surgery? Because at that point, I had never had anything. I didn't even have a cavity or broken bone up to that point. I went through the heart surgery. But the thing I was most afraid about was, I read about having blood clots, and you know that you can have problems after the heart surgery. And I kept worrying about having a stroke. I kept worrying. And then I wound up having the stroke that I was terrified of having. My mom, who was in her 80s, recognized the symptoms right away and said to my father, get her an aspirin, she's having a stroke. The stroke wasn't immediate, but it was somehow attributed to a post-surgical complication. It was a right brain stroke that affected my left side, and I had to learn how to do some things all over again that way, which is very humbling when you're a young woman and you can't wash your hair by yourself. So you have to learn how to do that and work with a therapist. And I feel very grateful that I've recovered very well from all of that. But, you know, something people don't kind of prep you for is the psychological reverberations from going through something like that, especially when it's your sort of first major health problem. And suddenly you find yourself dealing with heart problems and stroke problems, and you've got your heart and your head, and I had stomach issues afterwards, and it was like I was a Wizard of Oz character. You just feel compromised after something like that, and a lot of people don't talk about that. They talk about the physical recovery, but there's a mental journey that you have to take after something like that. The anxiousness, the anxiety, the fear. It's okay to have all of those feelings, and to write about it and to talk about it. It's actually really cathartic to get it out. And that's why I did a lot of writing at the time to friends and loved ones. I wrote about my experience just to myself. I journaled about it. It's really helpful. I would tell people, accept their feelings, write about it, talk about it, and then celebrate every year afterwards. Because you just never know. It's truly every day is a gift. I have a Go Red for Women American Heart Association Barbie. That is my prized possession that I've had for years, that I keep by my bedstand to remind me of how important it is to support organizations like the American Heart Association. As I celebrate my own 10th anniversary, I realize the importance of the work that the organization does for not just for women, but for everyone. And the work with heart and stroke is so vital. We have to continue researching. We have to continue putting resources behind research organizations like that, so that cardiovascular disease is not the #1 killer of women anymore.